All right, welcome in, everybody. I heard the intro music, and I was still talking to Joel Blank of the Killer Bees, so I was like, I think I better get over there. This is the fun of radio. I just absolutely enjoy radio. By the way, Soccer Matters has been going for 22 years. Started on public radio, move over to 790, and I've been here, gosh, I guess we're close to 15, maybe 12 to 15 years. Dave Tepper originally bringing me over here to Gal Media, and Todd Farquharson and everybody really embracing the sport of soccer. And I always appreciate that. 713-780-3776 show presented by the Daspit Law Firm, as always. There's another big piece of the history of Soccer Matters on the radio for 22 years is an excellent presenting sponsor. So John Daspit and the Daspit Law Firm, big thank you to them. We sent out a shameless video promotion a few minutes ago. I have to tell you, I'm always in a conundrum and very conflicted by doing that because I don't know. It's just strange. But then, you have to tag your sponsors and you want to let people know that you're on. So that's the other thing. So I hope we're going to get a bunch of calls here tonight. We got Copa America tickets. We got Dynamo FC Dallas tickets to give away. There's just a lot going on here tonight. Now, the guests on the show tonight will have Dynamo defender Eric Sviatchenko. And my apologies for not coming into Jeremy and Joel and pronouncing Eric's name. It's a Ukrainian name, Eric Sviatchenko. Had an interesting interview with him. He's going to be on the show here tonight. Now, remember, this is an interview tape from yesterday, but Eric and the Dynamo are just about ready to get on the field and start warming up at Q2 up in Austin because they will play Austin FC tonight. Very big game, quite frankly, because you got to tag the Sporting Kansas City win with the win over Austin FC, who came into Shell Energy Stadium and took a 1-0 victory over the Dynamo. In fact, that was the best game the Dynamo played over the course of the last 6 games. Was that Austin FC game, and they ended up losing it on a mistake. Goal scoring still remains the issue, but they are one of the best defending teams in MLS. So we'll get to that in a minute. Couple of interesting things here today. Manchester United over Newcastle 3-2. Aston Villa gets in the Champions League for the first time ever. That's big. Unai Emery getting it done. It's a 6 different club, believe it or not. And I found this to be interesting that Unai Emery has gotten into the Champions League. Valencia, Spartak Moscow, Sevilla, PSG, Villarreal. Pretty incredible. And let's not forget Villa, I think in 2019, was one division below the Premier League. So a lot of that going on. I do want to mention, because I didn't get enough to the Houston Dash, they got a win, a very big win against, what do we call them again? We Are Angel City. I love beating We Are Angel City. And thank Paige Nielsen for the late game winner in that one. Jane Campbell it just continues to be, she's the bar setter of NWSL goalkeepers, in my opinion. And you can't even begin to imagine where you might have been as a Houston Dash in the NWSL without her either winning games or positioning you to win games over the last couple of years. She's been amazing. So it was good advancement for them. They have Portland on Friday. Okay? Portland on Friday, the Houston Dash. So just wanted to make sure I mentioned that. By the way, Chucky Lozano wants to stay, and I know you love Chucky, Guillermo. He's in the Dutch Eredivisie. He wants to stay in Europe. He had 6 goals, 3 assists. I don't know. I don't see. I know people have linked him to San Diego. I think he said he would like to come back. If he did, he'd come back to Liga MX to Pachuca. But all kinds of names being bannered around with San Diego now, and maybe Memo Ochoa. I think you mentioned to me Sergio Ramos. They will want to come in with a big name, and it may be somebody at the end of their career. Look what LAFC just did. Olivier Giroud. Now, Olivier Giroud is not a signing for LAFC. That is a thinking out signing. This is a right here, right now, plug in a striker that we think can help us win an MLS Cup. That's the type of thinking that LAFC is embracing, and he'll score goals in this league. He's still fit. You got Bouanga working on the outside. You got him in the middle. Could be a scary proposition. as you ease them into it. And there's no rush to get them in there to win games right away. You ease them into the whole thing because of the playoff system and 62% of the teams making the playoffs. Guillermo, what's on your soccer mind tonight? Enough of my chatter here.
Well, I mean, today we saw that Austin FC is hosting the 2025 MLS All-Star Game. It's going to be at the Q2 Stadium. So, what are your thoughts on the structure and like what's your opinion on the overall like MLS All-Star concept?
Boy, All-Star, I'm glad you bring this up because All-Star concepts and games are interesting now. They've turned into kind of a good hangout, a good party, and a good marketing opportunity. They are sponsored elements, so I think from the standpoint of commercial and business and sports. But look, I'm gonna date myself here, but I remember as a kid, Major League Baseball, and I was a little kid, but I remember tuning in to the All-Star game and arguing with my buddies in school because I was a Mets fan and I wanted the National League to beat the American League. So it was intense. And I remember Pete Rose running over Ray Fosse. And Ray Fosse's career never really came back after that. But, it was intense and they wanted to win, carrying the banner or the flag of either the American or the National League. Now, I think it's a totally different thing. And I'll tell you what, I'd open this up to anybody out there right now. It's 713-780-3776. Do you like All-Star games? Look, it's the monetization of them that keeps them going. I'd like the format of U.S. against Mexican League, but that plays into everything, Leagues Cup and all the connection now between U.S. professional soccer, MLS and Liga MX. It is, though, a little contradictory, and I will say this, because MLS talked about not wanting every team to be in the Open Cup, the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, which, by the way, today is 25 years the anniversary of Columbus Crew Stadium, which, rest in peace, Jamie Roots, who was with the Texans, worked with Lamar Hunt. But it's 25 years ago. That was the first stadium built for soccer. But it is kind of interesting that, you only have 8 teams in the Open Cup, including the Dynamo, who got knocked out by Detroit. And the reasoning was there's just too many games, there's too many things going on. Well, this is a thing where people have to go out there for 3 or 4 days. Players, they're taken away. So, I don't know. But I think the answer lies in the dollars, honestly, Guillermo. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good opportunity for different kinds of players to be able to put themselves on a stage that maybe wasn't there before. I feel like it also has like maybe more international draw. So I think it's a good idea for both sides.
So you think it's good for Leo Messi to have to go play in an MLS All-Star game when he's being run out everywhere? He's probably not going to play tonight against Orlando. That's the word I heard. Because you have to be very careful with him. God forbid anything happens to Leo Messi right now because we're so tied into him and he's doing so many remarkable things for Major League Soccer and Inter Miami. By the way, I think Inter Miami's jersey now, who nobody knew of globally, it may be one of the most sold jerseys in the entire world now. I mean, you look on TV and Premier League games and stuff, and you'll see a pink jersey amongst the sea of, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's where it gets real iffy for me because like in this concept of the MLS All Stars, like I would like to see players like, for example, like I don't know, Coco Carrasquilla, like getting the opportunity, but not somebody that's coming overseas to retire. Like it's the moment to give other players times to shine, and that's
yeah.
where,
But then is that a true All-Star? If the other guys have performed better than them, why should they go to an All-Star game? I mean, you have to earn the right to be an All-Star and go to an All-Star game, right?
Yeah, I agree, but I at the same time I do think that if Messi doesn't want to go to the All Star game, he should have the choice not to go.
And ticket buyers would say,
Yeah, I guess that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. But before we move on, Glenn, I did want to ask you one more thing.
yeah.
Gio Reyna,
Oof.
the season is ending, loan spell at Nottingham Forest. What's next? Like, what are your overall thoughts on this?
So you remember we had the beat writer for the Nottingham newspaper on the program. We were talking about it at that time. And I remember, I'm not sure who I was speaking. Oh, I think Tab Ramos was on the show. And I think Tab and I were in agreement that, wow, he's got to go to now from Dortmund. where it's a pretty comfortable environment. He knows things. He's been successful there. Now he's being loaned out to Nottingham Forest, who's in the midst of a relegation battle. Okay. Here's his numbers: 230 minutes, 9 appearances, 1 assist. The only assist he had was against Wolves. I think his idea was to go there and build his profile from a personal standpoint, right? So that he could get a move somewhere else. I don't know what Dortmund's going to do with him now. Nottingham Forest isn't going to want him back, I don't think. He was playing behind guys like Anthony Alanga, Callum Hudson-Odoi. The coach was Nuno Espirito Santo, which was kind of interesting because they both have the same agent, right? So these are some of the things behind the scenes we never know, and we've always heard over the years that, under the table payments. There's a lot of things that we don't know in the underside and the underbelly of players in negotiation. I'm not saying that's going on with Reyna, but you would have thought he shares the same agent with that coach. That might have been a benefit, but I don't know. And the interesting thing is when he plays for the U.S., in the last tournament, he was exceptional, and he played underneath as a number 10. And maybe you begin to look at these things as two separate things, right? I mean, maybe a guy isn't playing well as his club, but if he can come in for the national team and do the job, there goes the theory of, well, you only make the national team if your club form is good. Well, we all know that's nonsense. There's a lot of reasons you make a national team. So I don't know. I don't watch a lot of I don't watch the MLB All-Star Game. I don't know. This is Goldfrapp. This is generally music that puts me to sleep at night. Oh, man, I'm getting sleepy. I got to get up for it now. We got coming up next, we got Eric Quill, former Houston area youth product. Eric, let me tell you about him. Grew up playing youth soccer here. So when I was out coaching a youth club, Eric was on the field. He was one of the top players. He went to Clemson, left early, played in Major League Soccer, Kansas City Sporting, Kansas City Wizards. Very humble guy. He's worked extremely hard at his coaching. He's doing big things with New Mexico United. They draw a lot of fans out there in New Mexico. They're in Albuquerque. And interestingly enough, they knocked off Real Salt Lake. They knocked them out in their first ever match against an MLS team, 4-2. So we're going to talk about that to Eric. Roster building, how different it may be in the USL Championship, and a lot more. Quick word here, though. I want to remind you as we go to break here, lssc.net is where you get your tickets. lssc.net is where you get your tickets for the Copa America. We got 3 dates coming up. We got Mexico, Jamaica. We got Colombia, Paraguay, and then we have a quarterfinal match, which could be messy. This is Copa America on our surface here, on our turf. Not only that, in our city. And this is just out from the World Cup. So there's amazing soccer coming here, and I haven't even gotten into all of it. That's just Copa America. So right now, I got I got a pair of tickets right now. It's 713-780-3776. Pair of tickets right now, Mexico, Jamaica, one of the first games of the Copa America here in Houston.
ESPN 97.5.
And on ESPN 92.5.
Brought to you by the Daspit Law Firm. From the Veritex Community Bank Studios, here's Glenn Davis.
For all the problems that we had 4 times, still we were there. We were there. There's something in the training sessions and the way they live and the mentality. It comes for the mindset for the players, Tomorrow start to think about West Ham, and of course it's a pleasure to give us the chance to depend on us for the last game against this contender like Arsenal. So we have to win one more game to retain the title.
That was Pep Guardiola, Manchester City. They will finish up with West Ham, as he mentioned there, and then Arsenal and Everton. So if West Ham and Everton want to change the course of history, they may have an opportunity to play a part in it. But Guardiola and City, remarkable. It's been fantastic to watch the rise of Arsenal over the last couple of seasons under Arteta. We welcome you back to the show. A reminder here, Danish Inspirations, modern contemporary furniture, best in the city, danishinspirations.com. Also, head out to Hugh O'Connor's Pub. That's where you can catch all these games that are going to be coming up, including Major League Soccer. That's the home of the Liverpool supporters group. Again, it's Hugh O'Connor's Pub. All right, so we go from Pep Guardiola to a former Houston area player, grew up here, went on to play in Major League Soccer, as I mentioned in the break after the first segment, and now is the head coach of New Mexico United, and he's done a tremendous job at building his coaching career and resume, and not only that, is one of the most humble guys you meet. He's Eric Quill, manager of New Mexico United, joins us now. Hi, Eric.
How you doing, Glenn?
I'm good.
Good to hear from you. Glad to be on with you, brother.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there's a lot of people who know you probably listening into the show tonight, so I'm really excited to have you on the program. I was excited to see that you knocked off Real Salt Lake, and we'll get to that in a minute. But just talk to me about New Mexico United and enlighten my listeners a little bit. I know Ron Patel for a number of years, and you guys are really embedded in the USL Championship in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah, I mean this organization. Even when I was in Dallas coaching the second team North Texas in 2019, they knocked off FC Dallas in the Open Cup, and I kind of started paying close attention after that happened to how they how the organization functioned and where they were in the league, resource. You just kind of hear things, you take things in, and I kind of always circled this place as maybe a possible destination of interest based on what I'd seen from fan interest. I mean, this Albuquerque, this is the only professional sport besides minor league baseball in town, and looking at their games on TV. I mean, the fan support is incredible. I mean, whether it's a Wednesday night or a Saturday night game, they show out, and there's an energy to this place like I've never seen. And so I blessed to get the opportunity that it was open, and, when I was back in Houston and kind of jobless, and I jumped at it, and it's just been an amazing journey here. And, we're building something special. I came in almost halfway through the season last year, and, we crept into the playoffs in the back end and got knocked out the first round, but had the off season kind of to build something. And right now it's, we had a really tough beginning with a lot of road games, and I've just really been proud of our group and our growth to be where we are in the standings. And you mentioned about the result at Salt Lake, so we're really trending in the right ways. So super proud of what's been happening so far this year.
Next game is San Antonio FC, which is also another one of the great USL Championship stories. Before I get to roster makeup, well, I guess I am getting to it in a way. After Detroit City knocks off Houston, you hear fans saying things that are slightly, to be honest, disrespectful to the Detroit player. Oh, how can you let guys that are part-time plumbers beat you? But I think what a lot of people miss here is that a lot of these players have had backgrounds in a lot of different places and are players that are on the fringe of Major League Soccer, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we've got 5 or 6 that were drafted by Major League Soccer teams and played 1 or 2 seasons there. So they've actually been in that league at the young stages, whether out of college. So there's obviously something that MLS teams saw in them to bring them in. Now, whether they stick or not based on the competition level is up to the organization. But there is player rotation. Say what you want. I mean, every organization goes about it different as to how they approach this tournament. And yeah, roster size and the amount of games, and I get it all. I've been on both sides, and there's truth to be told in everything. There is the David and Goliath story is there. It's never going away in this cup, which is why I love it so much, because we were in it in the first round against Lubbock Matadors, who gave us a great game, who had some talented players, who actually a couple of that we're going to try to pursue. So that's what the beauty of this tournament can be. For some of our guys, maybe they get on the targets of MLS teams again and get an opportunity again, and so you just never know. But that's what I love about this tournament. And so depending on how teams go about it, it's their choice. But there's some really talented USL Championship teams that have some talented players that have played in both levels. And it's just, we were just really, we were good on our night. We deserved what we got. But yes, Salt Lake rotated their lineup until the end. But we happened to get them early enough to where, when their star-studded guys came in, it was too late.
Yeah, Eric Quill, head coach of New Mexico United USL Championship, and by the way, I mean, you think about what these teams are doing in their markets. Whether it's the engagement with the community, that's one part of it. It's offering opportunity to players, coaches, people in upper management, marketing, you name it. I mean, they are so healthy for these markets. It's pretty remarkable. So 4-2, you knock off Real Salt Lake. It's the first ever match for New Mexico United against an MLS team. You're now in the round of 16. You get a pair of goals from Zico Bailey, Nicky Hernandez, and Reyes. So the first thing, when I saw Zico Bailey's name, I go, if you're named Zico, you better be pretty good, right?
Yeah, I mean, Zico was drafted by FC Cincinnati, so he had a couple years in MLS. So, and it was in San Antonio. So this kid, and he's young. Like, he's still, I think that's the other piece that we need to kind of throw out there is like what somebody may think of somebody at age 22, and maybe they're not the game changer they need right at that point. So sometimes the pathway and direction is different for everybody, and Zico's just needed to go down and get playing time at a young age. And I'm telling you what, I would recommend this player to any MLS team. He was a right back in the league, and now I've made him. He's an interior player. He's an 8, in my opinion, his best position. So sometimes, what somebody sees in somebody is not always what ends up being the outcome. And that's the beauty of sport and trajectory and people's opinions. And everybody's got a lot of hands in these things. And so Zico's a guy that has really gravitated and taken ownership of this interior role, and he's just thriving, and I've been loving seeing it. He's probably one of our most important players.
And you just announced him to all of Major League Soccer, Eric. You know that.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I'm
I know it is, because you wouldn't have
beyond.
said it if you weren't okay with it. I know you're okay with it.
Exactly.
All right, Eric Quill, New Mexico United. Look, he's one of our own here in Houston, and we don't. I got to tell you, we don't do a good job of reminding people of the amazing history, the coaches we have all over the country at different levels, people playing in places. I mean, amazing stories. By the way, there's a coach, Fabian Herzeller, who was born in Houston, who just moved St. Pauli to the Bundesliga, the top division from the second division. We had him on the show about a year ago. Amazing story. So the connections are incredible. Did you get the sense, Eric, before the Real Salt Lake game that your guys in training were a little bit lifted?
Yeah, I mean, it's there. This is opportunity knocking, right, for everybody. And so you see it all the time. I mean, even when we saw the Lubbock Matador, I mean, they were up for the game, and when people are up for it, they're bought in, and their structure's right, their buy-in's right, and their game plan's right, and they take their chances. They know they're not going to be in abundance, but our guys were super up for it. The world is small of soccer, and so they know each other from different teams, and I just felt an energy from our guys that they were ready for this one. And in front of our home crowd was, our crowd's amazing, so it was special, and we were ignited. And we got the result we wanted and needed, and we're moving on.
Tell us a little bit about the environment, because I always like watching it on TV. It's a unique environment. It looks very cool to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a baseball stadium, so it's a little, obviously there's some other teams playing. I mean, you got NYCFC playing in Yankee Stadium, so it's not far off from any level in this country. And they've done we do an amazing job of converting the field, which majority of the field is outfield grass, so it's really nice, and the surface is right for a good playing condition. And they do a good job of sodding the small portion that is infield, and it's intimate. It's got character, but the energy that the fans bring is something I've never seen, and it doesn't matter if there's 5,000 people in the stands or there's 11. It's loud and there's energy and you feel it, and so that's where I really, the fans here and how much they love this team comes out every time we're at home, whether it be a Wednesday or Saturday, and it's a unique place to coach. Eric
Quill, head coach of New Mexico United. Eric, how difficult is it putting a roster together in the USL Championship, because you do have a lot of player movement, and somebody could move for, a few $100 more a month, at this stage. And I don't say that disrespectfully, but it is hard to keep a roster intact, right?
It is. There's a lot of variables that go into people's choices as to what destination they choose, especially when money is if even. it's city destination, what they, if they have a family member. There's so many variables that people don't think about that go into somebody's choices. But I think that the biggest key is being consistent in the product you put on the field, and what we're trying to build is a consistent winner, where that's ultimately what can offset everything is when somebody's being sought after that's going to play for a consistent winner. And that's the culture we're trying to build. That's the organization we're trying to build, because I think that wins out overall. And I think we're an attractive destination because of our fan base, because of what what we are in this community in the state of New Mexico. It's not just Albuquerque. This is the state of New Mexico supporting this club. And that's why it's called Mexico United. It's not called Albuquerque United. It's the whole state. I mean, we got people traveling around from all destinations coming every week and every weekday to support this team, which is unique. And so but going back to your point, it's not easy. There's a lot of variables that people can choose as to why they choose their team they want to play for. But I think what we're trying to build is a consistent winner.
Eric, one thing you and I know, professional soccer players want to play in front of fans because in some sense they're entertainers. And as long as you're packing them in there, that's a nice thing to have as a feather in your cap, right, when trying to get guys to come there. Or I'm assuming a lot of guys are offering themselves up to you.
That's what we're hoping to become. I mean, I think that we're in the beginning stages of people offering themselves up to us. But, again, the season we're trying to have and we're hopeful to have, we just had 11,500 this game on Saturday.
Wow.
Against Oakland. And, we have our own stadium being built here, coming soon. So that just shows the growth and the trajectory of where New Mexico United is going and the support. It's here for the long haul. So if you're a player who likes to play in front of rowdy fans and have an energy and an adrenaline rush like no other, this is the place you come.
That was just a great marker you put out to everybody. Eric, this is great stuff. Let's get you back on the show again to continue the discussion on this, because I think I find it incredibly interesting, and I know that a lot of my listeners do as well. But more importantly, you've always had tremendous passion for the game. You always respected the game. You always put it first, and it's great to see you so successful. And thanks as always coming on. And by the way, best of luck against San Antonio FC.
I appreciate it, Glenn. I love the game. Love where I came from. Always support Houston, and whatever I can do to grow the game is what I'm bought in for. So I appreciate you having me on and speak my word.
Always, Eric. Thanks again. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, man.
Eric Quill, New Mexico United. They knocked off RSL. You love it. I mean, that's what the Open Cup's about, right? And then he mentions to you that Lubbock Matadors gave them a game because they're levels above Lubbock Matadors, and those guys are trying to prove themselves. So that's the beauty of the whole Open Cup structure. We got to go? Really? I was going to talk a little Dynamo here, Austin FC. No? We don't have time. I hear this music. This is Gary Newman, Remind Me to Smile. Okay, well, then I'm going to knock a few things off here. Dynamo, 7 against number 8 in the West, Austin FC. Dynamo are 3-2 on the road. They're one of the top defending teams in the league, along with FC Cincinnati and Columbus. Excellent defending team. See if they score goals tonight in Austin. Austin will certainly be concerned with guys like, they got a good midfield with Driussi, Ring, and Pereira. Kolmanic, Gallagher will try to get forward. Obrion's their vertical threat they got from FC Dallas. Diego Rubio came over from Colorado, and then there's that guy named Rigoni who scored the goal in the 1-0 victory. Interesting to see how both Josh Wolf and Ben Olsen will maybe mix and match here because it's a lot of games in a short amount of time. So we'll see how long Hector Herrera goes. He went 70 minutes. Keep an eye on what they do with him. Tate Schmidt probably will get the left back position with Daniel Steris out and Escobar remains out. So does Sebas Ferreira. All right, so that's coming up in about an hour. It's the Houston Dynamo. It's Austin FC, and that's on Apple Music. We'll take a break. Coming up next, Eric Sviatchenko, Houston Dynamo defender. Really, really good interview with him, and I hope you enjoy it.